listening to She Speaks Talk Radio, where women's words are changing the world.
Hello and welcome to the Small Steps to Wellness show with me, your host, Mari Craig, where we are exploring how we can achieve wellness in our lives, one small step at a time. Now, as I've said on other shows, I very much started myself personally looking at nutrition, but the more I learned, the more I realized that in order to achieve true wellness, we have to look holistically. And so today I'm really excited because I've got Terri Lee-Shield with me. Hi, Terri. And I always ask guests to send me their bios, and I think you have to go through this with me a little bit because Terri. So what has Terri told me about herself? She designs systems aligned with nature using life design tools rooted in permaculture principles, and she uses these tools to design spaces that create well environments. And she supports people to create their own natural, holistic healing path towards well-being. She loves to explore the connection between our body and the earth, our mind, and the emotional, spiritual connection to life that drives us towards health. I love that. Terri hosts the online space Love School, where they explore what it means to love self, others, and everything, and supporting people as they embody a healing journey to find more love in life after trauma, abuse, or neglect. You can catch Terri as well on She Speaks Talk Radio. She's got her own show there called The Loveful Show, and all the contact details for Terri can be found in the show notes today. So welcome.
I just realized how long that bio sounds when you're reading it out. I'm like, gosh,
but that's
get it down to a sentence. But
yeah, no, that's all good. It's all fine. It's all good. It's interesting, because I literally just said I want to look at health more and explore health more from a holistic perspective, and that seems to be where you're coming from as well. Is that what or how did you end up looking at it from that angle, as it were, or realizing there's more than just, I don't know, eating well or whatever?
Yeah, I mean, my journey was kind of maybe a little bit backwards from lots of different influences. So I've kind of spent my life navigating trauma. And at first how I did that was kind of charging ahead, if you like. I was really ambitious when I was young, and wasn't aware of my needs and how I felt, what I was eating, any of it. Okay, I had a really kind of ambitious mindset, and I worked linked to the media industry, and I was a photographer, and I had a really fast-paced lifestyle. And those unconscious drives just led me to total crisis. And actually, I ended up attempting suicide. It was probably about 10 years ago now. I lose track of the time, especially with the COVID. Maybe it's even 12 years ago. It was a while ago. I call it like my past life, but it's very relevant because what that taught me was actually I would rather have died than address myself and unravel what I'd created in my life. So I had this, obviously that was quite a significant experience, and it just shifted me into a different reality. And I had quite a spiritual experience with that. So I actually I realized I needed to heal. That was obviously quite a pivotal point. I realized I needed to heal, and I started going down more of a spiritual route, an energy route. I started going for energy healing and kind of started to unpack the bigger picture of my life. Like, is there a deeper meaning to it? What am I doing with myself? That sort of thing. And at the same time, I was really heavily influenced by my auntie, who was really, really into nutrition. She had quite an exuberant lifestyle, if you like, but always like looked great and had all this energy. And I'm like, how, if you're like partying all the time and have this. And her rule was, she says, if you're going to do something that's not good for you, you've got to fill yourself up with what's really good for you. So anytime she did anything in excess, she always balanced it out with nutrition. So I guess as I started to unpick my life spiritually, she actually got ill, and she had cancer. She battled cancer twice, and she actually overcame it the first time with nutrition. So that was quite a it was an experience to watch and go through. Obviously, I'm not going everything that happened on her journey, because she did lose that battle of cancer in the end. But what that showed me, because even just before she was going to die, she looked amazing. She was well, but she couldn't meet her, what I tend to call demons. It's not a religious thing, but she couldn't seem to stop those drives that led her to destruct herself. So for example, she was following this really strict nutritional diet, but then would sneak off and binge eat loads of sugar and alcohol, and it was what are you doing? So just watching that, and obviously in the end we lost her. So all of this was kind of going on, and I had to really start to unpick myself. I think I got to, again, I thought I found this place of real where I was eating really well. I had my physical body was right in shape. I had my physical aspect of my life in order. I had gained this spiritual perspective. That was all, I knew where I was going. I changed my career. I completely changed my lifestyle. I started creating what I do now, which is designing permaculture land projects and community projects, working with people. And that felt really nurturing for my soul. And I was like, yeah, this is amazing. And then just the reality hit of working with people, lots of different people in the community, and my own mental conditioning. So I'd done the same thing, really. I hadn't actually addressed my mental health, if you like, how I thought about things, how I coped with emotions, how I responded to people. I hadn't dealt with all these triggers that I had to do with past abuse. I was getting caught up in relationship dynamics that were just really toxic and unhealthy, and I never felt seen or heard. And yeah, I ended up going through another really pivotal change in my life, where I was going through a burnout experience, and I'll remember the moment when something just kind of clicked in me, and I was sounds all lovely, right? I at the time, actually, I know where to live, right? And me and my ex were breaking up, and it was all, like I say, it was quite another crisis point. We're sitting around this fire on this permaculture farm, which was so nurturing, and you're like, oh, I should be happy, but I'm not. I mean, life is falling apart, and we were talking about it. And I really looked up to this yoga instructor who was doing wound wellness yoga. And it was such an amazing experience. And she's got such a beautiful energy. And she says, Terri, you don't need to unpick your life. You just need to shift the energy. And something in my head just clicked. And I thought, you know what? You're wrong. I've shifted my energy, yet the same problems are still happening in my life, just in a different way. And I thought, I need to unpick my life. And what I did was I started using permaculture tools. So permaculture is a lot about design and systems in nature and considering the whole of things. If you're going to make a plan, consider how it affects all different ways and how nature naturally responds. And I understand that really well. And it's something, but I had never applied that to myself.
Isn't that funny? We think it applies to everyone else or to everything is for human beings. No.
Yeah. I'd never, like I say, whatever it was in my mind, I never applied it to myself. I could see other people's patterns. I could see, you know what I mean? But I just never, in that moment when she said that, I just thought, I need to unpick my life. I need to figure out what is going on with my systems and who's controlling these systems, because I'm not. I'm just going along and all this stuff's happening. And that was it. That was probably about again, I lose track of the time. It was 4 years ago now or something. And I just consciously started to unpick my life, to look at all of my patterns, look at each system, break it down, look at what was working and what wasn't, and just slowly start consciously designing my life, consciously creating it. And what I love, which kind of connects us and this chat, which one of my favorite, I say it's favorite now, but it wasn't at the time. I was like, no, that's not true. One of the permaculture principles is slow and small solutions.
Yeah.
And I'm a fireside. I'm like, no, go big, or go big and hard and fast and just make a change. And then it's like, well, you can do that, but actually you've then got to unravel the consequences.
Yeah.
Whereas actually, and I so appreciate that principle, because it's like, when you do something slowly, when you do a little bit at a time, you're like doing almost all these little experiments, and you can see what works, and you're only dealing with smaller problems instead of what I was doing, which was making these massive changes and then having to deal with massive crisis. You know, like, because once you make a shift like that, you've got the consequences, you've got the ripple effect. You know, like if you jump in the pond, poosh, you create a wave, right? Whereas if you step in, there's just like little moves you can adjust to. So yeah, that's what I learned small steps
That's
is
awesome.
where it's at.
I think there is a time and place for jumping straight into the ice cold water, but I think also you've got to be prepared for the reaction you get when you do that, right? Yeah,
exactly. It's like, it's being aware of it, and it's choosing that consciously, isn't it? It's going, right, you know what, actually I need to make a big shift, and I'm going to dive in, and I'm going to deal with the consequences, and I'm prepared for it.
Yes,
Because
this is
not
it. Yeah.
It's like it's like chucking yourself in but not like not being aware that you were going to make a splash. Like, you know, it's crazy when I think of it now, but I used to do that to myself all the time.
Yeah, and we don't understand. I mean, this is kind of the same in nutrition. I mean, some people make all these changes and then they feel rubbish because their body's just like, right, detoxing, yes, let's do it, boom boom boom, and all these things are happening, and people are, oh my goodness, I'm having all these experiences, this can't be good, I'm going to stop because this is just too much. Whereas if you start slowly, then in my experience anyway, it's easier to deal with for most of us. But I think, yeah, there is certainly a time and a place to just go for it all in. Well done you though for doing that and actually just facing it. But I think you have to be prepared for as you said, big reactions or something to sort of come up that you have to deal with.
Yeah, and I had to be honest, like I in that realization and at that time, I chose myself, and I had never really on a deep level done that. I think I never thought, you know what, this is my life and I cannot keep doing that to myself anymore. I need to treat myself better. I need to be able to treat other people better. I need them to treat me better. Like, I'm not tolerating that anymore. But I didn't know, you know what I mean? Like, you do, we are these patterns and we are this condition of our past, and we don't know how to change it necessarily until we start looking at it. And it is a choice to look at it. And it's hard. It can be a really hard choice. And that's why the slow peaks, I guess, you know, like it's like, I suppose if you're in the dark and you open your eyes, it's like a lot to take in. But if you start to just look a little bit at a time, you can comprehend more, and you can
adjust a little bit more to the light.
Yeah, exactly.
But I think also, wouldn't you say that a lot of people, I mean, I've been there as well, so I'm not sort of judging anyone, speaking but from experience, that you don't even know that there's another way of living. You think like, well, life has to be hard, or I have to be a victim to my surroundings, or I can't control a lot of things, or I think often we don't even realize that we've got a choice in the matter because we feel so I don't know, it feels so out of control, really.
Yeah, and it's like, I think humans are amazing creatures. We are adaptive, responsive, and actually are way more tolerant than we care to admit. So when things happen, so it's kind of the same in the opposite way, right? When especially if you're born into a situation that's maybe less than ideal, and even that happens in small stages. People don't suddenly decide, right, I'm going to become like an arsehole and be terrible in relationships, or, I'm going to eat horrifically and ruin my health. Like, that's not how it happens. We have these small adjustments that we make, and we tolerate what's not good for us more and more. And our bodies, our minds will just adapt to it. We'll just adapt to these little bits of things that harm, little bits of toxicity, whatever it is, we'll adapt to it, we'll tolerate it. And often it just gets to a point where that's built up almost, to a point where you cannot actually take any more, and then you've got to try and unpick it all sometimes. So it's like the problem and the solution are the same in the nature.
Yeah.
We don't just suddenly like become who we are. It happens every day. We wake up and we make new choices and we have to deal with new situations. And that's the same as recovery, or like you say, trying to change for your health. It's the same. You've got one day at a time, and you have to make choices and respond to your experience that day and that situation. And that's all you can do, one little bit at a time.
Yeah.
So it's
that's both empowering. But I think that's both empowering and also slightly scary, because it means that we can take matters into our own hands, but it also means, I've actually got to take responsibility.
Yeah. Oh yeah. And that's like utterly terrifying, especially at some points in my journey, and you're just like, no, and you have this battle between, because cause and effect is real, right? We are subject to the effects of other people. People say things or do things to us, and we have to adjust. And them adjustments, yes, we might have chose the adjustment, but not necessarily consciously, or not necessarily through our full choice. We're just doing the best we can in that situation. And it can be a battle. And I've found my peace with that, because there's something, I actually have a tattoo on my back, which is the Serenity Prayer, which is, grant me the serenity to accept what I cannot change, courage to change what I can, and the wisdom to know the difference.
Yeah.
And there's wisdom in accepting both of them things. It's like, I can't change the past, so I have to make peace with my past, but I can change my future. So I have to find that motivation and that strength to be able to choose myself again and again and again and again, not just once, every day, every interaction, every experience. And that does take courage. It does, especially when everyone else is trying to push you and pull you in all different directions constantly. Like, choosing yourself and what's best for you, what makes your experience better, what's best for your wellness that does take courage. And it's like I say, it's both. And actually, where I find my peace with it is just allowing it. So if whatever comes up, if this day I feel really like emotional or vulnerable because I'm being pushed and pulled by other people, and that feels, upsetting or whatever, just go with it, because that's how you're feeling in that day, rather than fighting it. But then knowing that actually, once I've gone through that, I can then make a choice, because I've accepted I am a victim to my circumstances. Sometimes I am, and there's nothing I can do to change that. But what I can do is learn to change how I respond, and learn to gain the wisdom. So if something like that happens again, I can make a different choice then.
Yeah. Two things from that. I just had nodding, because there's so much truth in that. And I think about my children as well, and what I say to them about, what you can and can't control. Two things about that. One more of a comment, but I think you're saying that you're changing, or we're changing, and then people around you are trying to kind of almost fight it. I think it's because when somebody goes through radical change, it can be almost a bit scary for the people around them. I think they're like, but what's going on? Am I losing this person? Or what's going on with her or him? Or what, I'm not sure. I'm so keen on this. And also maybe slight hint of sort of jealousy. They're actually doing something about their lives. I wish I was brave enough to do that. But the other thing that I take from this is that, or which will be my next question, is that where the idea for Love School happened? Because in order to make these changes, I think we have to actually feel like we deserve them. There's got to be some self-compassion involved. And I speak to so many people who want to make lifestyle changes. They want to eat healthier. They want to, do a cleanse with me or whatever, but they keep self-sabotaging. And is that, I sometimes wonder if it's because they feel I don't deserve it, or I shouldn't be doing this. I should be thinking about everyone else first.
Yeah, totally. And that is exactly what Love School is. It's basically a space where I wanted to create, because it's the solution that I would have liked to exist. I had to do a lot of research, and I felt like fighting through the weeds to find the answers that I wanted. I wanted to do this naturally. I chose to do this in a natural method and holistically, but it meant I had to look here and there, and you know what I mean? And actually, I just wanted a safe space to do it, and it didn't exist. So that's why I created Love School, so that when you have to go around, because healing isn't a straight line. It's like, it's like this. I've seen amazing diagrams. You're like, yes, that's exactly what it's like, because you think, right, I'm gonna do something to improve my body, and I'm gonna start exercising, or I'm gonna start changing my diet. But you don't, and you sabotage. But why? So there's two things potentially going on when you're sabotaging. There's a mental system that's not supporting you, or there's a belief about yourself that is holding you back. So that's mental, and it's emotional and spiritual, that's stopping you from doing the physical change that you want to do. And that only comes up once you make the move to change. So then once that's presented, you've then got to work with that. I need to do something around my mind system. How am I thinking about myself? How am I strategizing this? How am I figuring out this change? I need to look at the deeper, why don't I want myself to change? Why can't I allow this act of self-love in my life? Because it is like, I think at the core of everything, we do love ourselves. Humans we love ourselves. All beings love ourselves. Look at it, like, I love watching animals, like especially cats. Cats are a perfect example of this, right? Cats love themselves, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? There's no doubt about how fabulous a cat thinks it is. Like, if you want to like look at a cat, you know, like cleaning itself and demanding food and stroke me now, and you know what I mean? The cat loves itself. But we're actually, like, because of all these experiences that we have, we're almost conditioned to suppress that. Yeah. Especially, so I'm from up north. I don't know if you've noticed my lovely
it's lovely. I love it. I studied languages at university. I'm a proper language geek. I love it.
Yeah, I love the Geordie.
Yeah.
But yeah, we have things like, she loves herself, man, and it's a derogatory term. Like, who does she think she is? And we take that on, that we don't actually want to show love to ourselves or something, or that loving ourselves is a bad thing, especially at the minute with this whole like thing that's going on about narcissism and that, and people are like, I don't want to be narcissistic, I don't want to love myself. And it's like, well, actually, if you don't love yourself, you can't heal. And also, we want to care about other people. We want to be there for other people. We want to give what we can and support each other. But which was, you know, something that I did a lot, like, see, especially when I started doing projects, and I was just giving. And at what point was it like, this is at my own expense? Like, I can't, like, you have to care for yourself first. Because what I realized was, especially going through this journey of really understanding and caring for myself, I didn't know how to take care of other people, because I didn't even respect, understand, and know my own needs. And I also resented other people having you know, the extra care I was denying myself. So I would make sure other people had like this really, you know, safe environment, and I would never, that's maybe a bit complex, but you know, like I would feed other people, but not actually be responding to my own like IBS symptoms. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, it was just so disjointed, when actually it's like, well, if I really understand what it takes to honor my body, to get all the nutrition in me that I need, to get the rest I need, to get the fluids I need, to get the exercise I need, just to maintain myself at a level of wellness. Once I respect that, how much effort that takes, and attention and time and care, then I can love people better. Because then I'm not denying them, which was often a pattern, like, you know, well, I don't need that. I don't need 3 meals a day. So why do you need to take a break? I would be like annoyed at people taking a break, because I was a workaholic and, you know, push through. You don't need a break, just collapse at the end of the day. You know what I mean? So and that's how it affects other people in our relationships and stuff, because we haven't respected ourselves and loved ourselves first. And we either deny other people that, or, like, say, get jealous of it. And, you know, and we're all connected in one way or another, especially the people that we're more intimate with and we have closer bonds with. I like these words we use for relationships, because that's what it is. We have energetic bonds with people, and they hold us in place and they keep us feeling safe and secure. And if someone starts to try and like make a big move, you know, it affects you, because it either means you've got to move with them or you've got to let them go.
Yes. This is such a biggie. So much to take from that as well. Yeah, you got to let them, you got to embrace it, and you got to see where it's coming from, a place of self-love, that they're realizing, I'm worth this, I want to make this change. I mean, you know, nearly 10 years ago, 9.5 years ago, I had my first baby, and I remember the midwife came to my house, said to me, you need to look after yourself. And I was just like, okay, have you lost it? I've got a newborn baby. We just got out the special care unit. Don't think I've got time for any self-care. And but she's like, yeah, but you're not going to be able to look after anyone if you don't look after yourself first. And I can see that you are totally wiped out. And I didn't get it at the time, but now obviously it's not obviously, but it's become so obvious to me that and it's such a cliche, but you can't pour from an empty cup. You really cannot. And you have to find ways to nourish yourself, even if not for you, then for your children, but I think for you, because you've got one life, right? So live it.
So when you say with children, right, because I hear this a lot, especially with mothers, right, they'll be like, oh, my kids come first, I'll give everything to my kids.
Yes.
It's like, yeah, I get it, right, I get it, I do understand that, but the reality is we repeat patterns. So if you are not prioritizing your self-care, you first, your child second, because even if you're pregnant, you have to feed yourself first and then the child gets the food, right? If you don't do that, all you're doing is creating a cycle where at some point in your child's life, they give themselves up for somebody else. You know what I mean? So all you're doing is teaching your child that they're first until somebody else that they think more important comes along, someone else they love comes along, and then you give yourself away and you put yourself second. And that's how these, even unconsciously, even if you have the best loving, caring parents, those subconscious messages of, oh, love means you give yourself up. Love means that I give, and I don't worry about myself. And it doesn't matter how that message is given or taught, whether it's conscious or not, that's the message we get, especially a lot as women and mothers. I see that a lot, that mothers don't realize that subconsciously they're teaching their child that they aren't important, and that means that at some point as they grow up, they'll not be important either. Yeah. And it causes one of two things. It either causes, rebellion or yeah, just give your child to give up on themselves at some point. Who wants that?
No,
None of us want that for each other. None of us want that for each other.
No, and I think I've said it before, like, children don't do what we say. They watch us and do what we do. So we've got to, and actually it's a good message to, I mean, I'm going to take away from this call or from this talk also, just like, this is what I need to work on myself a bit more, and actually making it obvious to my children that I'm doing this now because I want to, for me, because that's important. And I think they've seen that shift in me over the last couple of years, but I think I can make it even clearer and to say, look, this is what I need, because I know that makes me a nicer person to be around, and I enjoy being around myself more. And I think you should also listen to yourselves and just think, okay, what do I need right now, and kind of allow that. And it's not selfish, it really isn't selfish, it's necessary for having a good life, as it were.
And there's no shame as well, like, especially with children, children have strong attachments to their parents. Yeah. They do. We do. That's what we do as a social species.
Yeah.
But just saying, I love you, but right now I need to take care of myself and love myself. Yes. You're safe, you're well, and I need to do that for me.
Yes. That's
your child gets that message. They don't feel rejected. They get that message. Oh, I'm still loved. I have everything I need, but mum needs to love herself right now.
Yeah. I think I've done that but I think I've done that in a different situation where my kids have been arguing so much, and I'm sat there listening to all of it, and I've said to them, do you know what, I'm going to take myself off somewhere else because this is making me sad and I can't be listening to this anymore. So if you want to keep arguing, that's fine, but I need something other. This is really bad energy. I need to go somewhere else. But maybe also
that's a great example, because you're showing you can just walk away from that chaos. It's like, actually, you guys can sort this out or not, but when I'm in my best headspace, I'll come back and potentially pick you up. But right now, because if you engage in that energy, you're just going to either get upset, you're going to get angry, it's going to exasperate. That's not a place to deal with it when you're already like, I can't deal with this.
Exactly.
Leave it.
Exactly. And maybe that is teaching my children also that, it is also okay sometimes to say, do you know what, I'm just going to stop here and I'm just going to leave, and we'll come back to this when we've calmed down. Maybe that is self-compassion and love. Is that what you teach at Love School then, or what is taught at Love School? Because and also who comes there? Gosh, this is a lot of questions in at once. But yeah, who comes there? Let's say, and what can they expect to learn about themselves when?
Yeah, it's a self-directed learning space. So the content is there.
Yeah,
it's all there, and the people who come are invited to navigate that content as they see fit. The content, some of the content is created by me, and I host the space. So there's a community there that I host, and I do little videos if there's a theme I've noticed that is coming up. There's courses that follow a process, but they're not, all the courses aren't just by me. There's different mentors that bring content into the space, because we learn different things from different people. Sometimes we can hear the same message again and again, but it's how that one person delivers it, or that one perspective, and something that resonates today might not resonate tomorrow, or vice versa. So it's actually got lots of different content in there that people can explore in their own time from different people. The people that come are seeking, they're already curious about a new way of being, whether that is, and they already know they want to explore that in a natural way. A lot of it is focused around people who have realized they're in abusive or neglectful situations, relationships, or even of themselves, and they're choosing to try and find another way. They've already committed to this change, but don't necessarily know where to go or what to do with it. But also, because I am a bit of a rebellious nature. I don't like to be told what to do. I would not sign up to a program and be told you've got to do this, this, and this, because like I say, I'm like, well, actually, if I learn this, I might need to go here and there and there and there, and then I'll get on board and agree.
You're describing me a little bit as well there. Somebody, I'll be, if I feel like, yeah, I can totally agree with this, yeah, I'll be all fine, do whatever you tell me to do. But sometimes I'll be like, but why?
I need to understand this before I let you manipulate me.
Yes, exactly. Then I'll be manipulated. Fantastic. Have you found a shift the last couple of years with that? Because I've had so many talks to people who are kind of now 2 years after lockdown and everything, that are now going, gosh, I want to reevaluate sort of how I've been living my life up until now, because it's been so stressful, and as horrible, I think, as lockdown was, it gave us a chance to kind of reassess a little bit what we value.
Yeah, I think it was an important time in our collective consciousness, because we've never ever experienced that. I don't know ever if humans, industrialized humans, have never been told stop. And it was just interesting seeing all the different responses to it. And I think it's a significant change, actually. I think, like you say, when you have it's almost like a crisis point. It's created that end to what was currently just rolling. And what I think more so is created almost like a shockwave is then it was expected, right, go again. And so people had this time to start to think. And when you stop, especially when, like I say, this is what happened to me, things come up and we can consider things and we can look at things, to then go, right, go again. It's like, well, actually, I'm in the middle of this process. Like, I'm not sure if I want to go, like, and if I am going, which direction am I going in? And I think that's created a really big shift. And that's what we're dealing with right now. That's why we're dealing with all of this. There's a lot of conflict going on. There's a lot of people. That's my dog Daisy. I'm so sorry.
No, don't worry.
People, like, dealing with conflict and the backlash of that space and time, like where people have, and I think it's just part of the process. I think sometimes you've got to stir up a pot before it settles again, if you want to create a change. And I just think that's kind of where we're at the minute. So people will be shifting a lot, changing directions, considering things. Some people will be hunkering down, ignoring the whole thing, but it catches up with us eventually. It does, like I say, because we're all connected. And I do think this is a time in our collective consciousness where we will be radically changing as humans. I think we're evolving, is actually what I think.
Yeah.
I think we are evolving as a species, and we can't ever be the same again. We can't
Out of
be.
trauma comes potentially a bit further down the line, a bit of triumph. It's hot for dogs today. I've got a crying dog
I
downstairs.
know, she was all settled. She's just decided she wants to go back outside.
Yeah, it's hard to know what you want in these days. It is so hot where we are, and it looks hot where you are too.
It is. It's really, luckily my house is quite cool. Which in the winter, I'm like, I never get any light in this house, but it's quite nice when it's really warm outside. It's nice and cool in here. So
yeah, no, this is like a sauna. So hurrah for old English houses. That's what I can say. But do you know what? I think this is it's so interesting to hear, because I was speaking to so many different people who are kind of in the same field but come from a different angle. And I spoke to a fabulous woman called Susie Redding, who was on my podcast a while back, and it's just released now in June. And she was talking also about how we are, or a lot of people that she sees are experiencing deep fatigue at everything as well. So as you say, is that we ask them to just go again and just go back to normal as if nothing happened. I think it's impossible. And I think we're realizing that actually I cannot and I do not want to be carrying on like this. I just wonder, with Love School, with the realizations that some people must be having or getting when they go on this journey with you, have you noticed any sort of radical changes to people's lives after they've been working with you? Or, what are people's experiences?
Yeah, well, Love School's still quite young. Love School's still in the development phase, but I have done so I've worked with people on land-based projects for a long time, and I also run a mentorship that I've tested a couple of times. And yeah, because with the people, especially with the one-to-one work to do, I see systems, so I also see the glitches in people's systems, so I can actually be both very triggering and deeply healing, because once you get to the source of the problem, you can kind of start unraveling it. But yeah, the whole process, it's about you can't enter that space, I think, and do the work and not come out changed. It's almost like what we're saying about the lockdown and that, like, whatever happened, we all came out differently. We came out changed. And I think even just that realization or making that, because it's an investment, right? If you invest in a space or a healing journey, if you make that investment, you have to justify it in yourself, regardless of whether you follow through with that or not. You've fundamentally changed something in you. Once you make a realization and then a choice, it doesn't matter what choice you make, you are different. So if you make a realization, I want to work with myself, I want to discover more about natural healing or holistic wellness, whatever it is, then you commit to it, you're going to change, right? You're going to transform. Or you don't, it changes something within you anyway. But a lot of the, like I say, that space is for people who already want that, and they kind of ready for that. And we also, hey, Daisy, settle down a minute, baby.
Bless her.
Just doing exactly what your dog was doing. How funny is that? She's normally really calm. I'm like, oh God, the stress. I can't remember what I was saying now. It's just
making change. People who come to Love School, they're already open for change, you were saying.
Oh, sorry. So I was going to say, yeah, we've got a couple. So myself and one of the other mentors does shadow work and something like that, where you've started to uncover a level of your unconscious. Once you do that, it shifts something in you anyway. And that space that we've created there is very much aware of that. And so, like I say, we've got courses and things in that balance that out. So, there might be a shadow work course, which is looking at your unconscious drives and bringing your unconscious behaviors to light. And then that's also balanced with a self-care course. So then once that comes up, and like you see, you can get symptoms of fatigue or feelings of depression, anxiety, there's then their physical course where you can look after your self-care. Carly does lovely like Reiki and things like that to help calm your energy system. And then there's stuff then, how do I translate that? Now I've made this realization, how do I translate that to my external world and relationships? So there's something there about boundaries. So you might have to learn about that, expressing boundaries with people around you to see, I'm actually not operating at the same level as I was before. I'm different now, and how do I communicate that? So yeah, it's kind of all there for that transformation. So once you kind of get stuck into one thing and then move into something else, like you say, it's slowly transforming just how you build them skills in your life and how you navigate your new, you know, the new space you're going to occupy, or you are occupying as you move and change.
I love that. And I think you're onto something, because once you start looking at one aspect of your life, and start healing one aspect of your life, you'll be more receptive, I think, and have more surplus energy to deal with other aspects of your life, because you've already sort of dealt with one thing and implemented changes. So for me, for example, I started with nutrition, and then I looked at, oh gosh, physical movement. Yeah, let's do it. But I wouldn't have, I could have started the other end with physical movement, then nutrition, but like I don't think I could have done both in one go, because that was just overwhelming. But when you have the energy then to because you've done one change, you can then look at other aspects of your life and go, okay, I'm ready for that now. So yes. I think that's a great way of looking at it. And if you do the small steps, then it can feel like a proper achievement then when you get to, not the end, because there's never an ending, is there? Gosh, it's the journey. But you mentioned something about that. We had a chat before we started recording, and you also mentioned something about, because I just reminded me now, because I said it's never an end, it's always going round and round and round, and you said no, it spirals.
Yes, it does.
You experience something and then you learn from it, and next time you might experience something similar, but you learn from it, so you react a different way. And so I
think we really that's how I kind of see us moving. We grow up in these spirals, and we spiral out, we expand, and then we bring it back in. But then as soon as once you've brought that back in and you're embodying a new way of being, you're starting again, because you're then stepping into a whole new way of being, right? Like if you if you've completely changed your nutrition through this like big expansion, you found what works for your body, and then something's like, oh well, actually I want to move more. When you step into that world of movement, you're a child again. You don't know, you back to the beginning almost, and then you've got to like, oh, I've got to learn, I've got to experiment, and I've got to learn, and then I've got to right now I'm learning, I'm getting better at it. And then once you get better at it, it's like, all right, now it can be a habit, now it's something I'm good at, now I know what I'm doing, and then something else reveals itself. But yeah, that's how I think
and I think that's great, and I think that's where Love School can be really, really interesting, because you experience maybe same things happening in real life, but because you've got more extra tools, that's how you don't have the circle, you have the spiral, because you've got the extra tools to deal with it a different way. Yes, exactly. So that can help you
when
grow.
You're stuck in a cycle, right? When you're stuck in a cycle, it's because you're not seeking that next level up.
Yeah,
you're going, I'm just going around circles because I don't know what step to take.
Yes.
So then you take the next step and you've gone up that little bit, so it changes your perspective that little bit more. And I just think that's how I seem to grow and evolve and learn, and that's the patterns that I've seen in other people. You know, if we're stuck in a cycle, it's because we're assuming that's all that is. I've reached a level, I have won, or I've lost, whichever it is. Like there's nothing else beyond that. And then that's when the mind comes in. It's like, well, actually, we can always make another choice. And that's all you've got to do when you're stuck in a cycle. As awful as that is to hear sometimes, if you've really been stuck in a cycle a long time, it's like, well, just make a different choice. You know, it's such a simple but annoying thing, but that's all it takes. It's like, well, I just have to choose something different. You know, I'm doing this again and again. I just need to do something differently and see what happens. And then you've moved, you've shifted it. You know,
as scary as that might be, our body's trying to work against change like that, because it's scary because you don't know what's going to come. But imagine if that actually is what gets you out of the circle and into the spiral where you can learn and grow. Listen, this is important work, I think. Thank you so much for coming on to talk about it. And I'm going to put everything in the show notes about how to find Love School and how to find you. And as I said before, so you've got your own radio show and She Speaks.
I'm a Love Fools.
Yeah.
Come and join us in Love Fools. I had a so after we had a little chat in a couple of weeks ago, and it sparked this really big trail of thought. So the past few episodes I've done are inspired by you, Mari.
Oh,
And how why can't people change, or why is it a struggle to change? And it is based on love. It is all about how we love self, how we love each other, how we relate in an environment. And I kind of unpicked that a little bit in Love Fools. But Love Fools, we are looking at exploring and embodying the universal language of love, something that connects us all, that we all are connected in. And that can be, you know, that can be a lot of things. It's quite a big subject and it can affect us in different ways. And we explore all that over there. So I'd love to have you on mine. We'll have to do it. You'll have to come on Love Fools.
Yeah. I feel like I'm there. I'm ready to talk.
Yeah,
so yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for being on. Shall we go and deal with our poor dogs? They
I
are.
know. She's giving up now. She's just like on the sofa, like.
Oh, it's not easy. They don't know what they need in this heat, do they? Listen, thank you so much, Terri, for being on, and I'll speak to you very soon. Yes, I'd love to come on your show. And until then, for everyone listening here, go and check out Love Fools, also on She Speaks Talk Radio. And yeah, hope this was useful for you all. I'm going to go and check out Love School straight away. So yeah, thanks so much.
Thanks everybody. Thank you, Mari.
Thank you.
Take care.
You've been listening to the Small Steps to Wellness show with Mari Craig. I am passionate about helping mums get their energy back through simple nutritional changes, because we know that if mummy is happy, the family's happy. If you would like to connect with me, you can find me on Instagram under @smallstepstowellness, or visit my website smallstepstowellness.info. Speak to you soon.
Would you benefit from better relationships, improved health, a feeling of wellness? How about being more aligned with nature? At Love School, we have created an online space dedicated to natural, holistic healing. It's a space where you can learn how to love yourself, others, and everything. And you are invited to join our exclusive, supportive community and benefit from courses by experienced mentors, with me as your host, supporting you all the way to a healthy life. Join us there at www.loveschool.uk.